Joining me now, Morgan Ortagus, the Trump administration's deputy special envoy for Middle East peace. This is her first interview since joining the Trump administration in this second go-around. Hello, Morgan. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Blake. It's great to be back, and I'm really thrilled that this is my first interview.
There you go. So a pretty big meeting tomorrow between the president and the prime minister. From the administration's perspective, Morgan, what's the significance of this, and what is the administration trying to get out of it?
Well, I think it sets the tone. Clearly, when the Prime Minister of Israel is the very first foreign head of state invited here by President Trump, clearly we are setting the tone, we are setting the stage about where the priorities of this administration lie. I would also remind you as well that one of the very first phone call that President Trump made was to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, as we like to call him. So there's a lot of focus on the region, on the Middle East. And of course, in the meetings tomorrow, there's a lot. Of course, we need to rebuild and strengthen the relationship with Israel, our ally, our partner in the Middle East. That's been incredibly important to us these first 2 weeks in office. And we really have a lot to thank Israel for. And what I mean by that is because of Israel, you have seen Hezbollah decimated. You have seen Hamas decimated. And so all of the terror groups that are funded and trained and equipped by the Islamic Republic of Iran, those terror groups are weak. They are on their knees. And I think actually that Iran is weaker than it's ever been, probably since the Iran-Iraq war. And that is, again, thank you to Israel, our ally and friend, for taking on and shouldering the hard work in the region.
Let me ask you about, speaking of Iran, there's a report in the New York Times tonight, Morgan, quote, Iran is developing plans for faster, cruder weapon. U.S. concludes as Prime Minister Netanyahu prepares to meet with President Trump. The question of whether to strike Iran's facilities or negotiate with Tehran appears certain to be under debate. That from the New York Times tonight. Does the White House, Morgan, believe that this needs to be a part of the conversations tomorrow?
Well, we are certainly talking with the Prime Minister. I'm sure the topic of the Islamic Republic of Iran will come up in the meetings tomorrow. I don't have any announcements for you. That's certainly for the president to make. But you know that they are the root cause behind so many problems in the region, in the Middle East. But it's not just the Israelis. I meet with our Arab counterparts and officials from around the region, Muslim majority countries in Asia as well. We all understand the threat from the Islamic Republic of Iran, what it faces not only to Israel, but to our Gulf partners and friends and allies. And I think that the region is exhausted of the terrorism that Iran has funded and supported. Of course, crucially, and I've talked about this on your show in the past, we also know that Iran is a major provider of very sophisticated drones to Russia. Russia has been using them for years on the battle space in Ukraine. So you see Russia, Iran, China, North Korea cooperating together in this sort of supply chain of terror. And that's something that we're going to discuss not only with Israel, but I would say that we are looking forward to a vision, what we want to create in the Middle East. I think what President Trump and Steve Witkoff, the envoy, my boss, what we're looking to is how do we get to a more peaceful and a more stable region. But the most important thing that is always on the president's agenda is getting our American hostages home. I think the president is very proud and honored that we've been able to get 9 hostages home just from Gaza. We've seen hostages come home from Venezuela with Rick Grenell.
Right.
We've seen an American come out of Gaza thanks to Steve Witkoff.
So
we still have some Americans remaining, and that is at the top of president's agenda.
So as you mentioned, Morgan, you have been in this role, of course, for 2 full weeks now. It's the first 2 weeks of the administration. There were conversations before the administration got in. But as you've now been there for a couple weeks, Morgan, and I know it's not a lot of time, but the reality is that this is the start of the first phase of the deal. As you've gotten in, as you've been a part of the conversations, as you've seen the reality and been speaking with the other side, is it the administration's belief that the first phase of this ceasefire deal and this hostage deal between Israel and Hamas will hold and all 33 of those hostages will come out?
Well, that's what we're working towards, right? That's exactly what we want, as I said, to get our Americans home. You saw that Steve Witkoff went overseas to Qatar and negotiated with the Biden administration. We're able to negotiate hand in hand in order to get these Americans home. So, yes, that's certainly a part of the discussion. You know, President Trump said throughout the campaign trail that he didn't want to see new wars, but that he wanted to lead peace through strength. And I think that's a really important place to get to. And we believe you get to a position of strength whenever you strengthen your relationship with your allies and your friends, and that starts with the state of Israel.
And that meeting tomorrow at the White House, Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump, Morgan Ortagus, the Deputy Middle East Envoy, here with us tonight on the Hill. Morgan, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.